Hello everyone, Jace here. This is the second video of the Fortified Town Wall series. In this episode, I'll paint the gates. The gates are in a way the heart of this project. They open into the inner courtyard and are the main access to the town. So I want to paint them a color that will contrast with the yellowish ivory color of the walls. I start by applying a Vallejo flat brown base coat all over the wooden surfaces. The reason why I start by painting the wood is that it's the lowest surface, under the metal parts. Later, when I dry brush the wood, I will inevitably touch the raised parts of the model, so it will be easier to repaint the metal parts afterward than to do the opposite. Next, I dry brush with Ripper MSP Maroon Red. This reddish brown contrasts well with the color of the fortified wall. Then I apply Citadel Agrax Earthshade. I give the shade time to dry, so it will settle at the bottom of the cracks and will dry there instead of flowing away. I also paint the widest crack between the planks with Vallejo black glaze. A brown or black liner will do just the same. When everything is dry, I mix Ripper MSP Maroon Red with Vallejo Dark Sea Gray and highlight the wooden fibers. Then I mix Ripper MSP Aircraft Gray with Maroon Red and take the highlight to the next level. Afterward, I add Vallejo Beige to Maroon Red for the last highlight. Finally, before painting the metal parts, I'll paint some part of the wood so that it has a worn appearance. I use Vallejo Cork Brown to brush the wood around the latch and the doors where the town guard pushes on them when they need to be closed. The next step is to paint all the metallic elements. I first apply a black base coat. I then highlight the upper edges of the ironwork with German grey. Followed by a neutral grey highlight. And finally a Vallejo grey-blue at a few places, especially around the keyhole and around the handles. All this so I can finally add weathering effects. I will now add rust and mud stains. I start with the rust since logically it would be under the mud stains. I mix Ripper MSP walnut brown and crimson red and dab the metal at random places, mostly at ground level. Here I don't want to add too much rust since the gate is supposed to be well maintained. After, I dab the areas I just painted with Ripper Fireball Orange. I then create mold using Vallejo, US dark green and pastel green paint. I add Green Stuff World liquid rust pigments, I stain the lower part of the gate with Vallejo pale brown to simulate dry mud, and finally I use AK Interactive dirt splatter effects to simulate wet mud. I then wait for everything to dry before sealing this side of the gates with Vallejo matte varnish. Here's the result. Once the varnish is dry, I can now safely work on the other side. I'll repeat the same process and start by applying a black base coat on the metal parts. There's a lot of details on this side. This step therefore takes a lot of time, but the end result will be worth it. Like I did on the other sides of the door, I then highlight the upper edges of the ironwork with German grey. Note that I'm applying paint to the sides and the top of the spikes only. I leave the underside black since it is in shadow from the ambient daylight. Here I'll also be comparing a rosemary dry brush with a 20 cents brush. On the door to the right, I used the 20 cents brush. As you can see, the result is very similar. I continue by applying neutral gray on top of the spikes and rivets. And finish the highlight by applying pale gray blue on the edges of the spikes. I'll now add rust as I did earlier on the other side of the doors. I mix Ripper MSP Walnut Brown and Crimson Red and dab the metal at random places. I then dab the same areas with Ripper MSP Fireball Orange. And add Green Stuff World liquid rust pigments. Finally, I stain the lower part of the gates with Vallejo Pale Brown to simulate dry mud, and use AK Interactive dirt splatter effects to simulate wet mud. Two thin layers of varnish, et voila, it's done. In the next episode of this series, I'll paint the smaller doors. Stay tuned, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to show your support with a like, and by subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on painting and take care.